to this week's episode of Draft Central. Of course, I'm Jeff Barnes along with Bill Carroll and Greg Rector, as we're in the house getting ready to talk about our final position group of the season. We're talking quarterbacks tonight. We're also going to have special guests tonight. Davis Black, quarterback from Cal, PA, is going to be in the house with us tonight, along with safety from Villanova, Trinh. So, yes, we get Bill's old position safety back in the house tonight. So, guys, last position group, and after that is mostly guests after this. We'll talk some other things as well. But we're going to have a lot of guests coming through here the next few weeks.
It's going to be very interesting.
Yes, it will.
You know, we saved the best for last. Everybody loves the quarterback position, so we normally kick it off with quarterbacks. And listen, you got to give the fans, they want the fans' popular position is the quarterback, so you got to give them that.
Yeah.
Make it a little suspenseful. We make them wait till the end to get to the quarterback position. Now here we are at the quarterback position, and listen, I know people were trying to beat up this class compared to last year's. This class is a lot of good quarterbacks. They may not be generational talents, but there are a lot of good quarterbacks in this class.
Yep, there are.
Yeah, I think it's more about what you're specifically seeking. And while there were more quarterbacks in last year's class that were more system agnostic, you could use them in more different kinds of situations more easily. In this class, you have more specific quarterbacks. They are for a specific type of offense or a specific type of situation. I think you'll have fewer people ready to go day one in this class than you might have had in last year's class. But I see at least two long-term starters with the very strong chance of a third. And if you find three people out of one class who end up starting 60 or more games, you're above the median line for a quarterback class. That's better than many quarterback classes. There are quarterback classes, I don't want to mention any by name, where you don't get a single quarterback who starts 60 or more games in the NFL. But we've seen a couple of those.
We've got one recent.
Right, so that's the point I'm making. That was the point I'm making. You don't have to dig deep.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Well, we'll say the 2024 class is off to a good start with 5 starters already. If you had those guys in your top 5, you were predicting right. And it's at least 5 because there may be a couple more guys that end up being starters out of that group as well. We saw a couple of those guys get some chances. Why am I drawing a blank on this young man's name today? The young man out of South Carolina by way of Oklahoma ended up with the Saints, starting a few games.
Oh, Spencer Rattler had a couple.
Spencer Rattler. Thank you. So,
ironically, he was, I think, the number one recruit in the nation at one point. I mean,
yes,
like
he was.
So,
he was the number one recruit in his coming out of high school. He was the number one recruit in the country. So,
yep.
Well, and I'll say this for him, he crossed the biggest bridge, but it wasn't his only bridge, right? The biggest bridge was the personality. When he got to Oklahoma, I think the personality was his biggest downfall when he was there. He seemed to overcome that by the end of South Carolina. He grew up, he wasn't feeling himself as much as he was when he was at Oklahoma. But I will say this. I think when you look at his game, there were a lot of other pitfalls that he had to overcome. So he's getting to those other bridges he has to cross. He wasn't crossing the 3rd Avenue bridge from Manhattan into the Bronx. He was crossing the Chesapeake Bay Bridge where he has to go about a couple of 10,000 miles in some tunnels and some long over the water bridges he has to cross before he can become that long-term starter. So
very familiar with, having grown up where I grew up and having grandparents in Wilmington, Delaware. So very familiar with.
That was a very familiar bridge to me, as my family is from the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, living in New York. I drove across that bridge many a times coming down Old 13. So I know it oh too well. But with that being said, guys, let's get into the top 5 because we got a lot of quarterbacks to talk about. I know I have 31 that are going to be on my board. So 31 alone at the position. So I know we got a lot to talk about tonight. So let's get into it. Greg, why don't you start it off with your top 5?
All right. So I have Cam Ward at number 1. He's been a first/second round QB for me ever since he was at Washington State last year. He's remained in that spot for me. Shedeur Sanders is number 2. Jackson Dart is 3rd. Tyler Shaw, who was supposed to be the real starting quarterback at Oregon before Justin Herbert. This is what people don't understand. Before he got injured at Oregon, he was going to be the starting quarterback. That was his gig, was going to be the University of Oregon. And then I put in Will Howard, who's shocked me basically by his improvement this year over his Kansas State days. But hey, the guy led them to a national championship, so that counts for something to me.
All right. What about you, Bill?
Well, same 5, just slightly different order. I think we're all going to have probably the same 5, probably just not quite the same 5. One difference.
Yeah.
And I certainly enjoyed watching Will Howard, but just like when watching Cardell Jones, I said to myself, how much of this is a player hitting a groove, hitting a stride, and being surrounded by extraordinary talent, and how much of it is who Will Howard really is at his heart of hearts as a prospect. I think Will Howard will knock around the NFL for a while and could even develop into a high-valued backup. But I wanted to go with players that I thought had a better chance to eventually become starters. And obviously Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are players that I see as future NFL starters. Jackson Dart is the wild card, almost literally, right? He is a mercurial player. His very best tape is as good as any, and better than most of the quarterbacks, and as good as Ward or Sanders. In fact, more impressive in some ways because, unlike Sanders, who has to really use a lot of touch and finesse and anticipation, Dart, has a real power arm as does Ward. And then a player who, of course, started his career at Ohio State, and of course, ended up being replaced by Mr. Howard, Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord led the entire nation in passing. Now, he had some great games and also made some decisions that were not fantastic. Ended up having 14 interceptions. They could have had more because he had some balls that certainly could have been intercepted that weren't. But you could see his talent. You could see that he's not afraid to throw the ball deep down the field. And when I look at quarterbacks and evaluate quarterbacks, I ask myself how much of it is them and how much of it is the scheme and the surrounding talent. And while McCord was in a scheme that certainly freed him up to throw the ball pretty much anywhere he wanted to, and he had good players around him. I mean, Ron DeGassen's going to play in the league for years, and some other guys there are good. He's not in the situation he was at Ohio State, right, where there's 3 or 4 NFL players deep at almost every spot on the team. And he elevated the talent around him. And then Tyler Shuck is a fascinating story. As has been mentioned, he has never finished a single season uninjured in his very long college career. He has never both started and finished a season without missing some time due to injury. So in addition to his age, he's going to turn 25 as a rookie. So in addition to his age and his injury history, then you sort of, if you set those things aside, now you have to say, well, what are his strengths? He has a good arm. He's a much better athlete than I'd ever seen on tape. And though I'd seen him, run around a little bit, especially in his Oregon days, because they did, use read options and stuff like that. You didn't see him do much with that athletic ability. I think he has under 400 net yards rushing in his college career. I have to go back and check, make sure that's right, but I think he's under 400 net yards in a very long college career. So despite the fact that he is a good athlete, he hasn't done much with it. But I think he's the kind of guy that some team late day 2 or early to mid day 3 rolls the dice on, saying worst case scenario, we get kind of a Nick Foles kind of guy. But if everything works out, he could, in the perfect situation, become a starter as well. Those are my 5.
All right. Let me give you my 5. And we will get back into the comment section. So I got Ward, Sanders, and Dart. Now, some people make it a case for Sanders to be 1. I like Sanders almost as much as I like Ward. They're very close in grade. 0.15 difference between the two. Neither one have a first grade. I have no first round grades on the quarterback this year. No. I have second round and below. Yep. So, which second round is a very good starter. He's just not a all pro caliber starter. Doesn't mean that they won't get there. That's just what I'm projecting. They won't have that ceiling. Now, why I like Ward over Sanders? I like Ward for the fact that consistency, right? We talk about Shedeur. Shedeur makes some consistently bad mistakes, holds the ball too long, will take penalties for intentional grounding that you shouldn't take and knock yourself out of field goal range. Things of that nature where you want a guy that's going to go out there and help you. By playing hero ball at times, he hurts you. Ward doesn't do that. Yep. So that's something that you can carry that bad trait to the NFL. And it's one of those things you got to work out. We talked about Sam Darnold. Everybody talks about this year, how he was such a great quarterback, and that's supposed to be who he was supposed to be. Sam Darnold's been who he's supposed to be his whole career. He's a guy that turned the ball over 21 times his final year at USC before coming to the NFL, and those turnovers followed him throughout his career. This was the first year he was not turnover free, but he kept them low and kept his team in games, and they won a lot more as a result. Yeah. So this is where you talk about players that have bad traits they have to fix. If Shedeur can control that, he's going to be just as good as Ward, if not better. But if he never fixes that, that's always going to be one of the issues he struggles with in the NFL. And when the pass rushes are a lot more talented, more aggressive, you're not going to be able to hold the ball that long. It's going to lead to you think the beatings he was taking in Colorado were bad. What he will take in the NFL will be worse. Jackson Dart, my one knock on Jackson Dart is what those two guys at 1 and 2 do in big clutch moments, he doesn't do consistently. And that's one of the reasons why when you talk about Ole Miss and not being a playoff team, well, they had chances.
Yep.
And he didn't step up.
He did.
Yeah. Right. So that's where I look at him. Quinn Ewers, this is more on talent alone when I graded him. And I'm not finished my quarterback grades, but I'm very close. So most of my top 5 are there. And we say, how did Dylan Gabriel get in there? Because guess what? Some of the guys that were on your top 5s don't have a final grade yet. So they may grade higher when I finish finalizing their grades. How did Will Howard miss my top 5? He is 0.10 behind Gabriel. Okay. So they're both third-round grades. They both got third-round grades. So
that's right.
Right, so they're both in the same range, just 0.1 behind him. So when you see him on the board, he's going to be listed just below him. But nevertheless, you talk about it, there's not that big a difference. Not getting to Dylan Gabriel next. But Quinn Ewers, all the talent in the world, injuries are a problem. He's consistently injured. He's one of the big problems he has is he consistent when the bright lights are on him? Has those moments where he's not. Now, I think Quinn Ewers could have been my 3, possibly 2, if he had exceeded those expectations, if he was consistently available for Texas. He wasn't. So that's where I look at it and go, when I factored his grade together, that's why he is where he is. Now, Dylan Gabriel, I'm a little higher on Dylan Gabriel than a lot of people. And the reason being is, yes, he is short. Well, we have short quarterbacks in the NFL now, so it's not unheard of anymore.
Yep.
The reason why I'm higher on Dylan Gabriel is when you look at his college career, there are tools that he has that are going to help him. There are tools that he has that are going to hinder him. But one tool that he has that's consistent is his consistent success in different offenses. Okay, he started out at UCF with Josh Heupel. Okay, did very well under Heupel, 2 3,500-yard seasons. Then what happened? What led to his stepping back and having a bad year? Oh, how about Gus Malzahn and a whole new offense that really didn't make any sense coming into UCF, right? Chased him off to Oklahoma. He has a rebirth in Oklahoma. Looked good in Oklahoma when he was there. Transfers to Oregon, has them in the playoff, right? And wins the Big Ten in their first year. So when I look at Dillon Gabriel, he's a guy that's performed in multiple offenses. He's done it in different situations. Now, is he the most complete prospect? Absolutely not. He's one of those guys, another third-round grade, right? So these guys here are the guys that when you talk about them, could they be long-term starters? Yes. Are they going to be very good long-term starters? Maybe, maybe not. They may be solid long-term starters. However, they may be very good backups. Dillon Gabriel may be a guy that starts out as a backup, sits on the bench somewhere, and has that kind of Taylor Heineke career to a Tony Romo-ish career, right? Where he goes out there, he's a backup. All of a sudden, he's in the starting role, and he never lets it go. Or he could hold on to that starting role for a year and then lose it and get it somewhere else. I think that's more on a path that he's on as opposed to these guys we're talking about the face of the franchise. So I think Dillon Gabriel can play at the NFL level. I think his ceiling is going to be just that borderline starter, very good backup. And if he's a starter, is he a high-quality starter? Maybe, maybe not. More quality-ish area. So overall, I think that's Dillon Gabriel's niche. You put him with the right system. If somebody tries to pigeonhole him into something, that's going to be a problem. Let him land in a place like Washington where he can be air raid and be comfortable. Let him go somewhere where one of the McVay assistants has him, where he can be comfortable. Put him in one of them other schemes, not so much. Okay, don't send him to New England. Don't send him to Tennessee. Don't send him to a lot of other places where you're going to force him to be a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dillon Gabriel is actually my sixth guy, so he's right up there on my list anyway. Quinn Ewers is further down for me, but that's
well, he may get pushed down when the final grades and the tags go on the board. Depends. Yeah. There's still quite a few more guys that go out of 31. I have 17 graded. So finalized. That is
Ewers was my 3 for about 7 weeks into the season, and combination of, once again, as you pointed out, him getting injured, and then he didn't look like himself at first when he came back.
Mm-hmm.
Ewers had some of that same personality stuff you talked about earlier when you talked about Spencer Rattler, right?
Yes.
He had to have sort of a come to, maybe not Jesus, but come to somebody meeting with some of his black teammates. I don't know how many of you know about the whole Eyes of Texas Upon You controversy down at Texas. And then there was some political stuff, and the leadership council had to get involved. And Quinn Ewers is a big Trump supporter and whatever. Eventually they got it worked out, but he's not for everybody. Sort of like some of the stuff that some of the Bosa brothers have had to do to sort of smooth things over with some of their black teammates. He's, off the record, I talked to a teammate of his, and he said off the record, I like Quinn, he's my boy, but sometimes he be on that Bravo Sierra. And, we'll move on from that. But so he was a guy that had to work through some things in addition to his on-field performance, some other stuff too in his time at Austin. But he is, once again, like we talked about Rattler, right? The first guy to have a $1 million NIL deal. This is one of the most heralded prospects in the history of Texas high school football. I mean, when you think about Texas high school football, and we could do 1,000 shows without running out of subject matter about Texas high school football. For him to be considered one of the most heralded prospects in Texas high school football history tells you everything you want to know. And of course, obviously, Ohio State. In fact, I think 3 quarterbacks we've mentioned have an Ohio State connection so far today, right? Albacore, Quinn Ewers, and then finally Mr. Howard. And of course, Ewers and McCord overlapped at Ohio State. In fact, at one point, let me think, if I think you had Stroud, McCord, and Ewers all there at once. I think towards the end of Stroud's time there, I think McCord and Ewers were also there. But yes, you had a pretty crowded quarterback room at one point. But yes, so the point is that I think Ewers is a person who's still developing, both physically and mentally. He reclassified upwards, so he's not one of the older quarterbacks in this class. There are a lot of old quarterbacks in this class. He's not one of them. Dylan Gabriel's older. We talked about Tyler Shuck, who's older. My only issue with Gabriel, other than I don't care about the height so much, some of the throws, they get there, right? But they get there kind of coughing and sputtering, right? And some of those out patterns are going to be taken the other way at the next level. He's going to have to do something. His arm is unlikely to get that much stronger. So you either have to modify the route, right? So that he's not having to maybe make certain throws from this hash to that hash or things like that. Or get even better at getting the ball out quickly, right? Because the big arm throws, right? He's a good deep ball thrower, but people misconstrue what deep ball throwing means in terms of arm strength. That's more about your ability to calculate mathematically in your head, right? A mortar doesn't need to be all that powerful, right? It just has to be accurate, and he is accurate. The problem is when he has to make a rifle shot, right? Mortar shots he can kill you with all day. Rifle shots are going to be a struggle for him at the next level, where the defensive backs are just, faster, smarter, and are going to bait him into thinking, oh yeah, I got this guy, and then it's goal lines and headlines and posing in the goal, in the end zone with your teammates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like him a lot, and my little scouting nickname for him is Surfing Kellen Moore, and so all the things that I loved about Kellen Moore, but once again, that just pure ability to get certain throws there is going to be an issue for him.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And people don't understand the art of the quick out. As somebody that's thrown that pass enough times, I've had my fair share intercepted, and it's not because of arm strength all the time. It's the first problem with quick outs is timing. If you don't have the timing right, that's strike one. Okay, because if you put it on that back hip, it goes the other way. If you put it too far outside and they're in a zone, the guy's sitting outside, it goes the other way. It has to be thrown on time in the window. So it's a very important throw to make. The hard part about it is, when you're on those hashes. Now, the good thing for NFL hashes are not as wide as college hashes. So throwing across the field is not as bad as when he was doing it at Oregon and UCF, where he was throwing from that far hash to the wide side of the field.
Wide. Yeah.
Yeah. So the boundaries are not as tight as they are, in college, which is a saving grace for him. However, you've got to get out there versus faster athletes, more intelligent athletes. They're very instinctive athletes at the NFL level, which makes it even harder. He's going to be baited. He's going to see different coverage looks where they show him one thing and then take it away after the snap. So those are things he's definitely going to have to improve on. The tight window throws in the middle of the field are going to be something that he's good at now. He's still going to have to get better because those windows are going to be even tighter at the next window. Kellen Moore found that out himself.
Oh, yeah.
So I see exactly what you mean. And that's the way you're looking at. Is he going to be, is he going to be that Romo-esque kind of guy, like I said, that comes off the bench and doesn't leave? Or is he going to be Kellen Moore, who comes off the bench for a couple of games, and next thing you know, in a few years, you're coaching? That's going to be there's your floor and ceiling for the guy right there.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So unfortunately, there's a lot of quarterbacks with that wide disparity in floor and ceiling in this class.
Yep.
That's what makes it so interesting. And I think when you look at the top fives, you saw it. We didn't have them in different orders. We had different people. Sometimes, two different, sometimes one different. But at the end of the day, you're starting to see that disparity. I'm starting to see it in a lot of people's boards. I think we talk about the top of that group. We talked about Ward and Sanders. The biggest knock on Sanders is not his game. The biggest knock on Sanders is his appeal to front offices that we've seen so far. And we talked about that already. Okay. I think that's more the disconnect when it comes to scouting certain groups of players, that they don't react the same that they do to some of their other counterparts based on the fact that they're not used to being around said people enough.
Yeah. See, here I am with two African-American gentlemen every week. But these guys do not seem to understand the young black athlete. They don't get them. And that's where the big issue is with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders also, he backed up way too much. He was going backwards instead of attacking the line forward. And that is going to be a huge problem for Sanders in the NFL.
So let's dig into some of the other guys, right? Because we got, like I said, I have 31 quarterbacks on my board.
Yep.
Okay. They're going to be 31 graded, draftable graded. Okay. Now, my scale is a little wider than the NFL scale. So they go, you got 31. Yes, I have 31. But mine has a lot of different categories in those 7 rounds of grades on there. It's not just starter, good starter, backup, and special teamer. That's not that simple with my board. There's a lot more in-depth grading on mine. So, nevertheless, let's talk about some of the guys. Brady Cook.
Yeah, terrific athlete, terrific young man. You just mentioned timing and ball placement, right? There were times when his timing and ball placement was some of the worst I'd seen amongst top quarterbacks at the top level of football, I'll put it that way. But he also was a guy that somehow got it done at times, right? You mentioned playing your best when your best is needed. Very famously, right? He literally left to go to a hospital, right? Comes back and finishes the game and wins the game in overtime. Super tough. You know, I'm only half kidding when I say I comped him to Scott Frost in that, I mean, the toughness and the athletic ability, I almost wonder if he ends up playing safety, but he, his actual ability to put a football in the right place at the right time, it's just not, it just doesn't happen enough. Right. And I think that he will need to be coached up incredibly well to become even a high-level backup. The ideal situation would be for him to go back up somebody like Bo Nix with the Denver Broncos, work with somebody like Sean Payton, who is pretty good at rebuilding certain kinds of players, at getting them to be better than they ever thought they could be or ever would have been in other situations. And I, like I said, love him as a person. I think he's going to be a terrific locker room person, and eventually, you know, grab a clipboard and, you know, eventually become a quality control guy, then eventually a quarterback coach, eventually offensive coordinator, and possibly even a head coach one day. But like I said, I'd love to have him on my team. I just don't want him. I want to depend upon him to play.
Yeah. While I like him, don't get me wrong. The athleticism kind of boosted his grade a little more for me. He would have been he is a late 3rd round guy, but he would have been further down on my list. I've won for a couple more, you know, if he didn't really test well, if he didn't show a lot of different things athletically during the season. But I must say, very inconsistent thrower of the football. And that's one of the biggest problems there, because you're going to be asked to do it more at the NFL level. And we talked about the talent that you're going to face. While, you know, he did put up a lot of numbers at Missouri, they scored at will on a lot of very good defenses. However, you know, it's not going to be the same when you're playing on Sundays. So he's one of those guys I like, but his grade, because of the athleticism, because of that stuff, kind of gets an extra push. I always talk about guys getting an extra push because when you start plugging in the athleticism and you grade them on that, we talk about quickness, athletic ability, change of direction, all that stuff, and you show that you can do all that stuff, it boosts your grade because you get some higher grades there. But then when you get back to the other stuff, you're talking about throwing in the coverage and the tight windows and all those things come in there, and those grades pull your grade back down. You wind up grading out with guys who may be better passers but not good athletes. You know, so you're in the same window with those guys. But when you read the scouting report, it tells you that stuff. So that's where, you know, Guys may be in the middle of the board, but they're in the middle of the board with certain guys for a reason. While he may have certain things that the other guy doesn't have, it's the same way when it comes down to with the other guy who is very similar grade. He may be a better passer of football, not as good as an athlete. So he's around there with like a Riley Leonard. Go figure. Two guys who are very good athletes, not great, not consistent throwing the football. Okay, so very interesting that they are 0.01 separation there between their two grades, and those are final. So they're going to be on the board, literally, late thirds, right next to right above each other, because that's exactly where they are. We saw Jalen Milroe tear up the 40-yard dash today. However, we saw Jalen Milroe at the Senior Bowl, very inconsistent throwing the football. So once again, we're talking about a guy who. All right. Do you think that the 40 time today kind of fueled the he needs to switch positions speculation that they always do with a guy who's inconsistent on football, but he runs fast?
Well,
absolutely. I've already told you guys, I think Milroe is going to be a running back in this league. I think he's going to head to become a running back.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll become a running back, but I think that the thing that will be in the minds of some people will be sort of, I wouldn't say a poor man's, a lower middle class, a working class man's, version perhaps of, what the Saints managed to sort of hammer out in their situation. When you have, of course, that was later because that was an older prospect, right? Taysom Hill was an older prospect and a guy with a scary injury history. So they got him at a real scratch and dent discount because they didn't have to even spend a draft pick. You're going to have to draft Milroe. But what I will say is he has progressed. He's improved, but there's still so far to go.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a multi-year.
He found the young wide receiver, the 17-year-old Ryan Matthews several times downfield. But again, that is what we talked about before. That's math.
Yeah, and the deep ball throwing has always been the best part of his game as a passer. Yeah. The issue is the intermediate stuff, right? Even sometimes on short throws, I've seen him miss layups in essence, right? The little angle routes, little shoot routes, and where the ball is just traveling 12 to 14 yards in the air and he's missing. And touch and anticipation, the strength of Shedeur Sanders is the nadir of the game of one Jalen Milroe. He does not anticipate well. He does not understand touch, especially once again, he has a big arm, but he struggles with the big arm throws despite having a big arm because he's not placing the ball correctly. The ball isn't coming out on time. And can that be fixed? Maybe, but the track record on fixing it at this point in development of a player it's a 3 times out of 1,000 kind of thing. It tends not to happen. I'll put it that
way. And who did they have dinner with last night? Who did Jalen Milroe go out with last night, Bill? Oh, your head coach Tomlin and Omar Khan and yes. Oh, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, we had a lot of success with Slash in the past, so maybe they're going to try to run it back. I think he's a long-term project. I would not touch him until well into day. I personally would not touch him until well into day 3, and just you roll the dice and see what he turns out to be. And maybe he's able to stay a quarterback, but it takes him a while to ever become something. Maybe you give up after a couple of years and you start trying to work him in a different position. Nobody really knows, but what I will say is I know he's a hard worker. I know he's smart.
Yep.
I know he wants to stay a quarterback and is willing to do whatever it takes to try to stay one. He's invested a lot of his time and money, shout out to Jordan Palmer, in trying to improve. And like I said, I can see increments of improvement, but it's like getting out of your hospital bed and saying, I'm going to run the Boston Marathon. And, a month into it, well, at least you're crawling, right? I mean, you feel better about the fact you're not just lying in bed, but boy, you've got a long way to go.
Well, he has a long way to go.
If I had been advising,
we have a guest waiting. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to our first guest because it's that time of the night. It's quarterback night, so it wouldn't be right to not have a quarterback on. We're going to bring on Cal PA quarterback Davis Black. Davis, welcome to the show.
How's it going, everyone? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
For sure.
You, of course, are a Vulcan. You're in, I think, one of the most fun to watch and competitive conferences in football, period, and obviously in D2. For those who are not familiar with PSAC and how bitter some of those rivalries are, acquaint people who are not familiar with, I think, the most consistently competitive conference in all of Division II.
Oh, yeah. So I got to the PSAC 2 years ago, and Cal's big rivals are IUP and Slippery Rock. And I was kind of familiar with the conference, like the competitiveness, but not really like the, inner rivals with a lot of teams. Like a lot of teams are close in the PSAC.
Yes.
We had some drives that were, 20, 30 minutes from each other, and then some that were also, 3 hours away. But just the competitiveness, I would say top to bottom, was a huge jump from being in the MEC before, and just the level of talent that a lot of those teams had, especially a lot of good defenses in the PSAC. So it was definitely fun. Definitely enjoyed my time at Cal, and yeah, it was overall a great time.
Excellent.
I guess I'll keep rolling. So every quarterback has comfort plays, right? The same way that every diner has comfort foods, something you like to go back to. I'm a margarita pizza guy, right? I could eat it probably every day of my life until I died, as long as it's good. Everyone has something. So I'm going to give you, I guess, sort of a short, intermediate, and deep menu, and tell me your favorites, right? Your comfort plays. So, 3rd and 3, right? And it's, you're facing a team that plays a lot of quarters coverage. What's on the menu? What do you like 3rd and 3 against a team that plays quarters?
I would say my go-to would be like a smash drive concept. So reading the corner to throw the hitch. He's probably going to be pressed if it's, 3rd and 3. The corner route should carry the nickel, take the safety with them. Then you're kind of over-under on the mic and have the back swing away to hold the will. So you're either thinking hitch right now, corner's probably dead, shallow to basic, then to check down, I'd say.
Okay. Now we're going to go to intermediate, right? It's 3rd and 7. You're in the middle of the field. The team is coming out in two-man coverage. What's on the menu?
2-man. Our favorite. We had 2 really good 2-man plays. First would be 4 verts.
Yes.
We hit Slippery Rock against 4 verts. Hit a seam route off the nickel. They were kind of trying to bracket. The safety got in between 1 and 2. I kind of threw it up the seams to the slot receiver. So you're really just reading the safety. You're going to get one-on-one, either outside or inside. And then we also have like a shorter version of 4 verts. It's like 4 stops from like 12 to 10. Kind of same read. Your best matchup's probably, if you got a really good slot, we had a really good slot off the nickel, or you just go to your best receiver if he's one-on-one, depending on where the safety's at. The safety's probably going to be deeper than 12. So you're going to have one-on-one, and you got to trust your receiver to win at that point.
And now we're going to go long. So what was that very makeable 3rd and 3? Your right tackle got a little too romantic with the person he was supposed to be blocking. And, now it's 3rd and 13. You're facing a team that's in a cover 3, but it's a match cover 3 where they're using, match, pattern matching. And it's a 3rd and 13 you got to have, because late in the game, you're down 2. This gets you a chance to at least get in field goal range with 48 seconds to go. So, what's on the menu for that situation?
3rd and 13.
Just outside of the high red zone. Yep.
High red zone. Okay, so we can, don't take a sack. We're in field goal range, but I like, like an outside comeback with, like a high low with a flood route concept kind of. So like a 2x2 set, your tight end or probably be your slot receiver, have about a 10 to 12 yard out. Your outside guys running like a deep comeback, like 20 back to 18. And then your backside slot has an over route at like 15 yards and then the backside post to hold the backside safety. You're probably getting, if they're playing 3 match, you're probably getting the nickel carrying 2. He has to win on an out route. If not, you're coming across. The backside slot would have to chase that slot receiver all the way across the field. And if neither of those 2 win, you come to the comeback late. I think once you get to 18, that corner's thinking that it's a vertical route or just a runoff route. You come to the comeback late, or you got your high low with your crosser route and your flood route.
What would you call that in your system, which you played?
So we would roll out to it a lot. There would just be like, flood comeback, like flood X comeback, flood Z comeback. So like in a 3x1 set, it wouldn't be a deep over. It would be like a 3 to 5 yard arrow route. And then 2 would have like a 12 to 15 yard out off of leverage and coverage.
When you were making your decision as your re-recruitment, as I like to call it, began, how did you decide which place would be home for you? What were you looking for in a fit?
So yeah, I was in the MEC, had some success at Charleston. A coaching change, a couple things moved around, and I just thought, my best interest that it would be better for me to try my talent somewhere else. And I kind of really wanted to go to the PSAC for sure. First team I talked to was Kutztown. They told me they weren't taking a mid-year guy, so then I started going on visits. And Cal was really the first PSAC school to get me in on a visit. And I was supposed to go to IUP a week later, and I was talking to my family, and we're like, hey, there's no real reason to wait. Like, we got one of our top 3 schools, top 4 schools that we wanted. I really like the coaching staff, very relatable guys. They kind of, laid it out what it was going to be, and they didn't say, hey, you're going to come here and be the starter. They said, hey, you have a chance to come here and compete. We're going to give you every chance. We think you're really talented, but ultimately you're going to have to earn it. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to go to a team where they said, hey, you're going to be the starter, because 9 times out of 10, that team's not very good. And with me having, 2 years left, it's like, how much can I change? 1 year going 3-7, and then the next year, hopefully, can't really change a whole lot in a year. So I wanted to go to an established program. That was Cal, and I think it worked out great. I built some great relationships with coaches, players, just faculty members, all that. I was really grateful for my time at Cal. Overall, a great experience for sure.
Well, I have 2 more questions, and I'll throw it open. Give me a quick sort of thumbnail scouting report on your receivers, and not just receivers, but everyone who's thrown balls to since you've been there at Cal PA. What are their strengths? What are the things that you've noticed about the guys that you've been throwing the ball to? What made them, guys that you felt comfortable putting, the church's money in their hands?
Our receiving core is very diverse. So I'll start with Eric Willis first. Very unconventional guy, 5'8" outside receiver. Burner. He run past just about anybody. Quick, twitchy. And he was kind of the first outside guy. He was like the X, I would say. And then our Z was Dede Johnson. Jump ball, 6'2", 6'3" receiver, very physical, great blocking receiver, and like a jump ball, one-on-one type of guy. And then DeMont Martin played outside, played inside, 6'4", burner, fast. And he played a little bit of inside and outside. He could do a little bit of everything. Very smart, very experienced guy. Was at Robert Morris before. And then the last guy was Amari Hopkins, my roommate at one point. Very reliable. I mean, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. I'm probably going to O. And he could win on just about any man coverage, no matter what the route was. He was very savvy receiver, very good hands, tough player. All of them, just tough guys. They were a very unselfish group that, trusted me to put whoever I threw the ball to in the best position for our team to win. And that was the biggest thing from our growth from year 1 to year 2, because I was with all those guys for 2 years. So the growth, I would say, that we, had from year 1 to year 2 was massive. It was just a lot of trust and confidence in each other. And I mean, we were down multiple times in some big games. None of us ever blinked. It was just, who's going to make the play. It wasn't like, oh, hey, we have to go to this guy, or this guy has to win. We have to call play up for this guy. It was really any 4. Even shout out Nate Blessett was the next guy in the rotation, and he was very reliable, great hands, great route runner. I mean, we had 5 really, really good guys and tight ends that could block and make plays. Jack Kalechi could make a lot of plays fast. I mean, it was that Cal offense was really good, really good.
I usually stick to football, but I'm going to ask one non-football question. You are very well groomed. Your hairline, your mustache, your beard. Is that all you, or should you want to shout out the talents of your barber?
Oh yeah, my barber. So I just moved up to Cleveland. My best friend lives in Cleveland, so I'm living up here with him, training, working out. And I met a guy through him. His name is Josh Mankins. Shout out Josh, great barber, up and coming barber, cool dude. Yeah. So yeah, Josh.
Solid work. Yes, well done.
Thank you.
Greg, any questions?
Okay, so you were the PSAC Offensive Player of the Week 3 times, weeks 2, 5, and 6, including a 28-7 thumping of the Slippery Rock team. And then you had your Dak Prescott moment against them in the playoffs. How did that game develop for you? I mean, you only had 90 yards passing in the last game against Slippery Rock. What happened to that team on that day? Because I'm not blaming you.
No, yeah. It was kind of just ran out of steam a little bit. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
Things didn't seem right. They made some adjustments that it took us a little while to get used to. They brought some more pressure. They played a lot of, they went for a lot of 2-man in the first game. And then they kind of started just heating us up a little bit, eating our backup in protection. They weren't really playing press man. It was more like a catch man with a deep safety instead of, their typical, 2-man with outside receivers pressed, where they would only bring 4 guys, maybe 5. But yeah, that second game, they started heating us up a little more. They had some guys come back off of injury that played well, a couple linebackers, and their D-line played really well. But ultimately, we just couldn't really get over the hump. We couldn't get started, it seemed like. We just kind of, never really got going. And their offense played great, unfortunately.
Yeah, because you guys were down 21-0 in a hurry, right? I mean,
yeah, quick.
It was quick, right?
Yes,
and that was just a ugly day for California.
Yeah,
it was just an ugly day, and of course, if anybody goes around seeing that 90-yard stat and that quarterback sucked. No, you did not suck in that game either. It was just basically you guys got beat up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we had 4 or 5 guys out on defense towards the end of the year, and it just it got tough. And I mean, that was definitely our offense needed to step up, and we just, like I said, couldn't get it going before it got too late, and they just got up and didn't let us come back at all. So
yeah. And you're what, 6'5", 230
Yep.
still, or
233.
233?
Yep.
Awesome. Because you have a very good arm.
Thank you.
I will tell you that. This is from somebody who watches enough D2 to say that yes, you are a very good quarterback at the D2 level. Would you look at the UFL as your first option?
I wouldn't say it's my first option. My first option is the NFL.
Okay, perfect. That's the answer I wanted. That's the answer I wanted to hear.
But I definitely would be open to, any NFL, UFL, CFL opportunity for sure.
Yep.
But I'm just, praying and hoping for it, working for an opportunity in the NFL, and thinking that's the route I can take and make.
Have there been any NFL teams, either formally or informally, in contact with you so far?
Yeah, I would say informally. I was down at the Tropical Bowl. So I met briefly with the Packers, had to do like a little test, just kind of some follow-up questions as far as the interview went. Then some questionnaires with the Colts and the Cowboys. And then the Cardinals reached out to my school, my coaches, asking some questions, just some background questions. So, nothing too crazy, but hoping to change that.
Understood.
See, my name here is Great Cowboys. There's a reason for that. So I actually did hear that the Cowboys did speak with you informally. So,
yep.
And Pro Day wise, where will you be for Pro Day?
I was actually at Kent State today.
Okay.
And then I got the PSAC Pro Day next Tuesday at Gannon.
okay.
Got it. Did you get any of your results back from your initial Pro Day?
No. They said the results were confidential, so didn't really get those results.
Yeah. I have a rant, but this is not the time or the place. So
we'll do it at the end of the show. We'll do it.
Right.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
I'm following you on Twitter. We'll DM each other about some stuff later.
Yeah.
But yes. Well, please give us an update once you get an update, and then obviously we want to hear how things go at the PSAC Pro Day.
For sure.
You done with your questions, Greg?
You go ahead, Jeff.
All right. So since we're in the functional questions, I'm gonna keep it going, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw up a play. We're gonna go through it real quick. Simple concept. You've seen it a million times before. I'm gonna pull it down. We'll talk about something else. We'll come back to it. Tell me about it. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a variation off it the second time around. So you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So what we call this would be trips right near, Bob, R stay, spot, X search. So you got your spot concept with the trips. Of course, you sit on the outside, you're flat, your corner over the top. R stay tells your back, he's your man. He's got to protect you from whatever blitz comes.
Yep.
X has the option route. So he's got the go. He's got the hitch if he's playing way off. He's got the slant if he's got the inside go. All right. So that's going to be trips right, near, Bob, R stay, spot, X search. Right?
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I want you to walk me through something here because, I went through a lot of your film when I was breaking down your grade, and I got to see you at Tropical Bowl as well because, I make it to all the Florida All-Star games. Now, I don't make it always outside of state, but I do catch you guys when y'all come down here. So walk me through this play here because everybody has a guy they always compare to Tebow. This is the most Tebow play I've seen in a very long time. You ready?
Okay.
So walk me through this, and I know you've seen it a million times on film. Walk me through this one right here. And this, for the people that don't know, this is the PSAC championship game last year. All right, so we're going to rewind it one more time because we want to start this in the beginning. It starts pretty quick. So what were you seeing here that said, I'm pulling this?
So this is just, outside zone to the left. And we read the defensive end all day. And they didn't really play any, where like the DN takes the running back and the backer has me. They didn't scrape the backer.
Yeah, they didn't switch it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really just a defensive end read. I think this was the first time in the game that I pulled the ball. I think
every other time you did give it.
Yeah, they really weren't giving me the pull much. So once I saw his shoulders and hips and just his kind of demeanor, I knew that he couldn't play the pull. And I did see the safety fitting, but if I can get one-on-one with a safety or a corner, I know I had the linebacker out leveraged, so I took my chances, and I would like to say I was going to score. Did I know I was going to score? Probably not, but I knew I could get 5 or 6 for sure. And then it just got to the point where I ended up kind of running through 2 guys and scoring. So
right. See, what I like about it is, right now, I'm going to pull it back to the beginning because you can tell I'm an offensive coach because I'm going to break down this film, the molecules for the people watching with you, right? So you make the smart move here, and this is a hard read because he doesn't show right away he's going down inside, right? He's still got eyes on you in the back here, and it's not until he thinks the back's got the ball that he fully commits inside. Now you've got it in clear lane outside. So that was a heck of a read that you read it that quick because his eyes were still on you when you were starting your mesh. All right. But what impressed me even more is when you get out here to the second level, you read the block, you realize you got one-on-one. You don't go, well, I'm going to run to the pylon and try and beat this little speedy guy. I'm 6'3", 230 pounds. I'm going to use that and finish it. So that's what impressed me just as much. There's guys that'll see that and go, I'm going to beat him to the pylon. No, use the 6'3". And so this is all smart decisions. So I'm going to give you kudos on that. That is wisely. And here's a slow motion one more time where you get to see the DB suffer for 4 yards, right? As you take him into the end zone. So
film study was not kind to him.
No, that would have been a very bad film study for that man. And quick giving Davis a shorter stature. He's 6'5".
Well,
is that what you came in at officially when they measured you, Davis?
Actually, they measured me at like 6'4" and 1/8.
1/8. Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
233.
Yeah, 233.
So they got you today at 6'4" and 1/8.
Yep.
Okay, there we are.
See, I have to update that because at Tropical Bowl they had you at 6'033".
I know. What's up with that?
Yeah, listen. This is what happens with All-Star games. Whatever scouts are there, the ones that measure it. Sometimes you get a dude that can't tell what scouts you get. You get the veteran scout at certain.
Shout out to your barber. Apparently, whatever he did,
I know. A little longer on the top. Yeah, a little longer on the top.
Yeah. See, this is the benefit of showing up to bowl games. You get this. You get these numbers. So, so we're going to go backwards for a second here. Just want to make sure we have it ready to go. Because we're going to go back to our little play. And here we are. All righty then. So let's walk through it one more time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up for you, and you're going to walk me through what we're doing on that play. Do you remember the name?
No, I don't remember the name. I remember the concept, though.
Okay. All right. So we'll walk through the name. All right. Forgive me. Getting the blank shot, I had to go backwards, so forgive me. All right, here we go. All right, so what we want to do Wrong one. See, I'm cheating you. There we are.
There.
All right. So, easy one is the formation. Guess the formation name.
Trips right.
Bingo. There you go. All right. Trips right near. Okay. Near is your back, letting you know he's on the trip side, right? Bob. What's Bob going to be?
Big on big protection.
You are the dude. All right. All right. So Bob R. Stay is part of your protection.
Right.
Running back stays in protection.
You got it. Spot.
That's
Yep,
the
spot.
Z has a spot route.
Mm-hmm.
With the Y has a corner route.
Mm-hmm.
Spot is the concept.
Yep.
And then the F has the arrow.
On this one, he has a flat.
Well, okay, yeah. Okay.
You work in the 3 levels to the outside. So right.
Yeah.
All right. X search.
So he has either a fade ball, a slant, or a hitch.
Perfect. All right. So you got it. All right. So I want you to take that same spot concept, right? We're going to keep that same concept. We're going to change the formation. All right. So we're going to change it up now. And we're going to walk through this. I want you to walk me through this one. So what we want to do is go. All right. So what we want to do is go spot right. We want to go spot right, Bob open. Spot right, Bob open. Spread right, Bob open, spot right. We're going to go X go, F search.
Okay.
All right. So spread right, you know the formation.
Yep.
All right, Bob, you know this protection. What do you think the open means?
That the back swings open to the first call, the spot side. He has a flat route or swing route.
Perfect. See, this is why he's the dude. All right. So yes, he is going to be your open. Tells him free release. There's no check route. There's no nothing getting to your route. So we're running spot now, which is a 3-man route, and there's only 2 receivers. Back has one of those responsibilities.
Yep.
So there you go. So you got it right. That is the big one right there. A lot of people miss is the back is the 3rd man in the spot. All right.
Yeah.
So all right. So Z has your what?
Z has the spot route, like the curl or like a hitch route, a diagonal hitch route.
Yep.
And then the Y has the corner route.
Mm-hmm.
X has a fade with no conversion, and then F has a choice either to go in or to go out after 5 yards.
Perfect.
You could probably just sit it down too as a hitch.
Absolutely. You can sit on the stem of the route, go in or go back out based on the coverage. So it depends on the leverage of the linebacker or the man on his head. So you got it exactly right. Great job. So Greg talked about one of your toughest games. I know you didn't have any tough games versus Lock Haven. I know Lock Haven oh too well. My brother played at Lock Haven, so I watched Cal PA and Edinburgh and Slippery Rock and everybody else come in to Lock Haven, beat up on them pretty good.
Hey, Lock Haven was pretty good this past year.
Yeah, well, they weren't good when he was there, so that's all I cared about.
Okay. I was going to say, they were pretty good this past year.
That 4-hour drive from New York to watch them lose a lot of them games was never fun. I can tell you that right now, all right? So, and then probably the stadium looks a lot better than when it was when he was there as well. So, but tell me about your best game. What do you think led to you having the success on that day? Do you feel it was your best game?
So are we talking, numbers, stats, or are we talking just overall, like
overall with a game you felt that you were in the zone, you could do no wrong, and y'all won big because of that?
I would say the first slippery route game.
Bingo.
I think we, I think it was only threw for like 260 yards and maybe 2 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, but just the confidence we had that I had on 3rd down, picking up some crucial 3rd downs, keeping the ball out of harm's way, didn't turn it over, and just really controlling the game. I think we won by 21 points, and it was never really in doubt. And I think we need the ball at the 10-yard line too to end the game. So I would say overall, yeah, I think I controlled the game, that particular game, the best out of all. Then Clarion was a game where I put up big numbers and a comeback win. But I would say, for quality opponent, rivalry game, I would say Slippery Rock regular season.
All right. Of the things that you feel you're weakest at, what do you think is going to be the biggest one that you have to overcome to be productive at the next level?
I would say, there's times some people criticize my speed, which then I tell them I have game speed.
Yeah.
So, game speed is different than, hey, let's run a 40-yard dash. But, I think that's something that I incorporated into my game much better, running the ball. I would say we didn't throw a whole lot of intermediate routes as much. It was kind of, get the ball out quick and get the ball in our receiver's hands, or, we're taking a shot over the top. So I guess I could see some people say that could be a weakness, but I do feel comfortable throwing intermediate. I kind of like, over routes and curl routes, dig routes. That's kind of my game for sure. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I would say that.
All right. Bill, Greg, you guys got any final questions for Davis?
Yeah.
I've got one non-football question for you, which I've also asked a couple of the other guests we've had. What is your favorite food?
Favorite food, I would say I'm a big steak guy. I get down with a good steak. Medium steak, medium rare, baked potato, broccoli, asparagus, something like that. I'd say.
Good man. I'm telling you that you're a broccoli eater. That's a good thing. Good thing.
Yeah. Listen, the vegetable list isn't too long. Well, I'll get down with like a salad, cooked asparagus, broccoli. But other than that, it doesn't get much more green. But yeah, I would say that's my go-to.
There you are. Perfect. Go ahead, Bill.
So putting your sort of scouting cap on, you face some good defenses. As you mentioned, the PSAC particularly had some good defenses. Who are some of the best defensive players that you faced, and what made them special?
Some of the best defensive players. I think the best defensive player I ever played against, I think two of them were on my team. Rashawn Murray, the corner last year, wore number 4, just transferred to Pitt.
Yep.
And then Dom Solomon, him and I used to go at it all the time in practice. Smart veteran, nosy guy, very physical, all around great player. But I would say, from opposing team standpoint, Kutztown, number 95, I think his name is Freddie Reuter, he was a very good player. And then IUP had a pretty good linebacker. Garrett Cox was, a very good player, made a lot of tackles, kind of was everywhere. And I would say those two. And then Slip's defensive end, Todd Hill.
Todd Hill, yeah.
Todd Hill was a very good player, transferred into Slip for his last year. So,
and my final question is: you love football, you play football, but you also watch football. Who are some of your favorite offenses to watch, and why?
I like Sean McVay's offenses. Big Sean McVay guy. Matt LaFleur. It's just obviously people are going to say Andy Reid. He gets, his best players open all the time when it seems crazy. But I do like, Sean McVay, watching the Rams. I like their scheme, like kind of how the quarterback operates in that offense. Gives them a lot of freedom, a lot of, short stuff and crossing routes and, just stuff to get the receivers the ball in their hands, because ultimately that's the goal. And keeping the ball out of harm's way. Also, they throw it about 45, 50 times too, some games. So I think, offense like that would suit me best.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you so much. Davis, it's been a pleasure watching your career and getting a chance to know you a little bit better. And yes. Once again, look for a DM from me, and we can rant about certain things.
All right, for sure. For sure.
Well, Davis, listen, thank the guys from the Gridiron Crew for letting you come on. We appreciate it. It was great getting a chance to talk some ball with you before the draft. What are your plans for the draft, by the way?
So I'm in Cleveland right now training. I'm going to go back home to Byesville about 2 hours, spend some time with my family, hopefully hear that call, whether that's, probably going to be after the draft, whether it's undrafted free agent or, someone wants to bring me in for a mini camp. But yeah, I want to be with my parents, my two brothers, stuff like that's important to me. And, I want to, make the right decision and have kind of give everyone else that experience of, that emotional roller coaster that's hopefully going to be reality soon. So,
yeah.
Well, enjoy the process. Like I tell everybody, not everybody gets the chance to go through this. So enjoy it. Whatever happens, we're looking forward to seeing what happens next for you. If you do get the call, by all means, we're here the week after to wrap everything up. We'd love to bring you on if you know where you're going and get a chance to be happy on camera. So by all means, that we extend that invitation to everybody. If you get the call, by all means, once you get your name called, by all means, come on and share the joy. We'll be live all 3 days, so people would love to see an actual prospect celebrating on the show with us while we're sitting here slamming down turkey sandwiches for 8 hours. So, all right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us. That is Davis Black, quarterback from Cal, PA. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back. We're going to go to the opposite side of the ball. We're going to have safety from Villanova, Trinh, on the show. Right here on Draft Central. We'll be right back.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Davis.
Davis, take care.
Streetwear is not dead. The next wave of black fashion comes out of the Bronx, New York. Rich Kid Clothing, picking up where FUBU, Rockaware, and Kyle Kanai left off. Rich Kid is for the next generation of Get Fly fashion heads. Use promo code MELLOW23 for 15% off your next order. And for orders over $100, there is free shipping. Again, use promo code MELLOW23 for 15% off your next order.
Draft Central is looking for an official sponsor. As the official sponsor of Draft Central, you get product placement in every episode, commercial advertising, and your logo on all Draft Central merch. Contact us at info@TeamMBS Media for more information.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
We'd like to thank Davis again for joining us tonight. And we got one more guest to go. Once again, we are live all 3 days of the NFL draft here, which is just over a month away. So we're rapidly closing in on the big 3 days. We will be here live once again. Make sure, like I said, you can have the big TV on with all the graphics. We'll be right here breaking down pick by pick by pick from one till the end. All right. So we talked to quarterbacks. We talked to a quarterback. Let's talk to the guys that like to watch the quarterbacks and pick them off. We're going to talk safeties. We're going to talk to Trinh, safety out of Villanova. Ty, welcome to the show. Thanks for being patient. I know you're sitting there listening to a quarterback talk. I know some of your point we were waiting for a pass to be thrown your way.
Nah, thank you guys for having me. Yeah.
So I'm going to let the guys start it off, and I'll come back last, and we'll go over some X's and O's stuff and talk some just simple chalkboard stuff so we can sit there and make it feel like it's still football season for you. Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Who wants to go first, guys?
Oh, I will.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Ty, you got to face Mr. Felton out in that field this year. What was the nightmare that Felton created for you guys?
I mean, it's a fast, very fast player, twitchy. Obviously they created situations to get him ISO'd and allowed him to get the ball in space and let him do his thing. So that was a big challenge, just trying to, contain him as much as possible. Obviously, you have another good receiver outside of him as well on that team.
Yeah.
So, when you got two good guys like that, it's kind of hard to focus, hone into one player when you got multiple things to worry about. But, sometimes you just do what you can and obviously control the controllables when you're out there.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I watched Felton against several other teams, and he was doing the same thing to them that he did to you guys. So, I mean, that was just okay. The guy is very good, basically.
Yeah.
Do you prefer being more of a free safety, or do you prefer the box?
That's a great question. These past 2 seasons, I've been playing more in the box, and then when I first got into playing safety, my first 2 years, I was playing more up high. So, that's kind of actually hard to pick. I mean, I felt like I found a comfortable role playing in the box these past 2 seasons, and I feel like I excelled the most there. But I like playing up high, just having that ability to, see everything from a bigger picture. I get to, see the formation better. Obviously, when you're in the box, you kind of have to see the formation from where you are at on the field. But I mean, I like free safety. If I could, I'll probably, be there if I could. But whether I'm playing in the box or up high, I feel I'm confident enough to get the job done.
Yeah, that's why I asked you which one you preferred, because I knew as a beginner you were out at the free safety spot and then you moved into the box, right?
Yes, sir.
So some guys prefer to be in that box, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But other guys, hey, they love having that wide open view of the quarterback from back there, right? So
yeah, it's 2 different games when you're playing like high and then in the box. So I kind of had to switch my mindset a little bit when playing in the box more this year. I'm seeing a lot of different things being on the strong side of the field, to the formations and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Bill.
So you have a strong track and field background. Talk about or explain for those that haven't had the great pleasure of participating in track and field. One, how that has helped you as a player who plays a reaction sport. I mean, football is a sport of explosive movement and hopefully, if you're a safety, exploding through people. But in your particular case, what has track and field helped you to do, and what was your favorite part of being a track athlete?
So the most important thing I probably got from track, obviously, I try to tell people a lot of times, especially since I've been able to do both, track speed and football speed is 2 different things, and you got to train your body 2 different ways when you're playing those sports. So I've been on both sides of training to be, a football player and a track athlete, but that just translates to the football field. And I try to make people understand that, what you do on track, you can take that to the football field as far as, especially, the explosiveness, the proper running mechanics. I feel like if you can translate that to the field, then you're going to be better off than, some other people who have not had that experience.
What were your personal records in your event?
So man, I did jumps. So I was doing triple jump, long jump. I did the high jump before. I did like the multi event. So I was doing a lot of those. I did hurdles before. So I've been all over. I did jumps. I did some like relays here and there as well. But my main priority events that I was doing were the jumps. And I felt like that helped with my explosion. I think that's also what helped me, finish a lot of tackles. It's being that explosive in my legs. So I think that was able to give me a good advantage from those events. I think my best event was the triple jump. So
what was your PR in the triple?
I jumped coming out of high school or my senior year. I was like a 49 triple jumper, like around there.
Okay. That'll do.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll do. So a lot of great football players were triple jumpers, because what people don't realize who've never tried triple jumping, and I did, and I wasn't good at it, but I did it, is it takes a lot of power. Like, you need strength. I don't think, like, a lot of people don't realize how strong you have to be to be a good triple jumper, and then body control. So my proudest moment was teaching or helping to teach somebody to triple jump who actually broke a record in the state of Virginia and was a safety in the NFL. One of my teammates, track and football teammates, was a guy named Matt Darby, and he played with the Bills and later with the Arizona Cardinals. And he had never triple jump before in his life. He's a 10th grader. He's sort of hanging around. You know, he's played different sports. He's a great football player, but he wants to do track. And he had done some hurling, he'd done some sprinting, and then we're showing him the triple jump. First time he triple jumps in his life, he sets a school record. By the time he gets to his senior year, he's broken Al Toon's record for the state of Virginia, and went on to UCLA. Was an two-time All-Conference and one-time All-American at UCLA. But triple jump is, I think, if I could have one set of track athletes to grab and turn into football players, it'd be triple jumpers. For all the reasons that you said. And like I said, I don't think people realize how much strength it takes to be a good triple jumper. So yes, 100% agree. Take me through your recruitment process. You are this multi-sport athlete. Who are some of the schools that were on you early, and how did you find your way to Villanova?
It's actually crazy because my recruitment process was probably one of the most hardest processes that I had to go through. Just because of COVID, that became a big factor, part of my recruitment, especially my first year in college. So me being a multi-sport athlete, I was getting looks at for track, like predominantly at first. And then I had a good couple track offers, like Mississippi State, Texas A&M were interested, UNC. But at the end of the day, I knew I wanted to go to college to play football. I felt like that was my main focus that I wanted to do. And I was hoping that I could be a multi-sport athlete in college, but that didn't pan out how, I wanted it to, which is fine. I'm actually happy how things, worked out for me. As far as like the football process, I didn't really have any looks actually until this guy named Coach Ola Adams. He came to my school, checked me out, talked to my coach, got me to go to one of the camps at Villanova. This was my junior year. And so I went out there in camp. I did well. And then the next day I got that call and he had offered me. And it's crazy because I got the offer. I didn't post it. And I had, took visits to the school. I kept everything kind of low key under wraps. And then after, visiting the school a couple of times with my family, I felt like that was a good fit for me. And I committed. I got committed like really early on the spot. And after that, I committed my junior year, other schools tried to start coming in. But once I was locked in with Villanova, that was pretty much it for me. And I just stuck with them the whole time.
Okay, excellent. And when you first get to Villanova, safety was not something that you probably had in mind. For those who are not familiar with your entire career, as I often say, safety is not born, they're made. Everyone I've ever known who played safety found their way to safety, right? They were either a running back or a corner or a wide receiver or, undersized linebacker or whatever. But it's always something else. And then somebody finally taps you on the shoulder and says, you get over there. So explain your safety journey for those of us that don't already know how you got there.
Yeah, so in high school, I've only played corner my whole entire time when I was in high school. As far as on defense, I never played anything else but corner. And then once I committed to Villanova, I got there and my coach switched me over and told me, we're going to move you to safety. And I looked at it just as an opportunity and I didn't look back from it. I wasn't concerned like, oh, why safety, not corner? I kind of just, I was open to like playing that position, learning more about it. and I felt like I meshed into it really well. As a corner, I got, had good really tackling abilities. So I kind of have a mind. Well, it's actually funny because I move like a corner at a safety position. And so I feel like playing corner and then transitioning to safety has helped me a lot as far as, how I approach my mindset as far as a free safety. I'm not just a safety that just, likes to roam up top. I feel like I can play guys man to man as well, especially with my corner, like from previous high school experiences. But that transition was a little challenging, just a little bit, having to adjust. But once you get settled into the position, you start to get the feel for everything. It was smooth sailing after that.
Well, I noticed you still have your cornerback feet and hips, but you have a safety's brain and a safety's heart. No offense to corners, but takes a little bit.
I'm offended, Bill.
It takes a little bit more what I'll call processing speed in order to be able to play the safety position.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you officially feel like a safety? You know what I mean? Like, when did you stop feel like a corner playing safety and actually feel like a safety?
I would have to say after my COVID year, honestly, because I transitioned like my sophomore year. That's when I would start like getting starting reps. I was playing. So, you got to get out of that mindset that you're just a young guy. Like after the first year, you got to click. And so, I was looking for opportunity to play, get on the field. And that was my opportunity, my chance. And so I felt like that summer going into my sophomore year, I felt like everything was meshing really well. I took my first year as a freshman, learning everything that I could about the position, getting comfortable there. And that kind of propelled me in the right direction my sophomore year, where I was starting at safety and was able to go, take off from there.
Okay. So every safety I know has a favorite tackle, right? The one that you would, if you could, you would have somebody paint it like a huge oil painting, and you could have it on your wall for eternity. You would show everyone who came to your house. If someone's delivering an Amazon package, you show it to them. What is the tackle that you wish could live on forever and ever?
Yeah. I had a tackle against this team called Lehigh. Mm-hmm. And there was probably, this is my junior year actually, and I had a crazy just boom, like hat on the ball, forced fumble, and I'm reading my keys. I seen the down block. I flew right off the tight end's hip, and it was kind of crazy how that play happened, because earlier in the series, in the beginning of the game, I was kind of feeling it out, see what they wanted to do off the down block. Was the running back gonna hit right off the tight ends, butt early, or was he gonna be more patient? And so in the beginning of the game, I was playing it more slow, and he was hitting it fast. So later on in the game, I was prepared. I'm like, okay, I know this time when I see that down block, he's gonna try to hit that gap early. And so it was crazy. He seen the down block. I just trusted my instincts, trusted what I was seeing out there. Flew straight down to the C gap, running back bounces right out to it. He doesn't even see me at all. Boom, bang, bang play, forced fumble. Unfortunately, they got the ball back, but that was a crazy play for me.
And of course, you still got your ball skills. You've got hands. So what's your favorite interception? What's the interception that you would like to have? You hand out T-shirts, right, to everyone who walked through, with that interception on the T-shirt, so everyone could show everyone else you getting that interception.
That's kind of hard to pick from. I want to. Well, one was more so just like reactionary. That was the Maryland game.
Yeah.
That was more like I seen. So my linebacker was showing he was getting pressure off the edge. We was in actually like a cover 3 zone. I'm rolling down into the curl window, and my backer showed it, and I see the cornerback. He sees it, and most times, when quarterbacks see that, they're taught to get the ball out quick. And so I'm ready for the hot route. I'm ready to break on it. And so, boom, that exact play right there. So you see me actually to number 2, thinking I'm getting the hot route to my guy. My teammate makes a tip play on the receiver or whatever, ball's in the air. Practice those. That's tip drills. I see the ball. All right, go get it. And then, we gone. I wish I could have scored here. It's funny. My teammate actually tries to block for me, blocks him actually towards me, but, love the effort by my teammate. But yeah, so that was probably my favorite one. That that was more so reactionary. But yeah.
And my last question is, everyone obviously has also, I don't know if it's called a least favorite play, but I'll say a play that you wish you could go back and edit, right? You could go back and fix that sucker. What play stands out in your mind that's the one like you toss and turn about, like, man, I wish I could have that play back because this time I would do this? What play just bothers you?
So we played Monmouth, and they had a really good offense this year, like a really good offense. Great running back, great quarterback. Their offense was legit. I'll give it to them. Their offense was legit. They schemed us perfectly. It was a third down play. Score is pretty close. I think they're up by maybe a score, a touchdown, and it's a big third down play. And I'm mashed up on there. You know, they're I'll probably say wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, however you want to look at it. Real twitchy, real fast. It's a short yard distance. I'm trying to play my leverage. Hits me with a quick. I felt like it was a short route anyway going to happen, so I'm getting prepared to play on the fast route. Kind of gives me a shake inside to go back outside, and I got beat. And I gave up a crucial, like that was a crucial third down play. Obviously I was able to, tackle it, get the play, move on to the next play. But, those big third downs, when you get to that situation, your mindset got to be, to win and get off the field. And in that situation, I wasn't able to win. And so in that situation, I felt like I let my team down a little bit. And, that was a play I wish I could have got back.
Understood. I completely understand. Well, I could do this all night, but I won't. There are other people who have questions for you, so I'm going to let them ask them.
You done, Greg? You asked your questions already?
Yeah, you go ahead, Jeff.
All right. So, well, first of all, kudos for being that guy that goes from corner to safety and performing well. As a former cornerback, at the end of my career, they were saying, well, you couldn't move to safety. He said, I could retire and coach because I'm about done. No. I've tasted the safety pool. It wasn't for me. Right? Playing in the middle of the field is totally different playing outside the hashes.
It is. Right?
A lot more information and a lot more faster decisions. As a corner, you see everything unfold. As a safety, you have to have really great vision. So kudos to you for that. You familiar with Meg and Mod, right?
Not too sure actually.
Pattern matching, man everywhere it goes. Man on demand.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Yeah, right. So explain that to the viewers that don't understand that concept.
Oh, could you say it again? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So you're familiar with man on demand and Meg, man everywhere it goes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So explain that to the viewers what those two concepts are, so they understand what it is.
So man on man is really like what it sounds like. Everyone's matched up. Corners, they might have the one. It's a little bit different depending on how your defensive is. Different teams run different things. So at least as far as how we ran our defense, man on man, corners got the ones on the outside. Me being in the nickel, we had the 2, and then we might have our other safeties on one of the other receiver, tight end, wherever it is, and then you might have one high. So obviously, man to man is just if there's motion, you can go with your man. Sometimes we might switch it off. So yeah.
Gotcha. So you said you're familiar with Mod, right? Man on demand, I should say.
Man on demand, Mod.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I mean, I believe so.
Right. So can you explain that one for the viewers? Because I'm pretty sure they have no idea what that means.
Oh, Mod?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of similar to just man on man. Except for as far as like if it's a corner, if you're playing the corner, it's kind of like man over depth. So if you get like the shallow route or something like that, you can just chop it off and let it go. And you can, try to look for something else and pick up on it. So that's how, when you're in that corner, you got to actually listen. It's more listening than like really seeing it. But when you get that call, like, if you can drop the shallow crosser or whatever and look for something else coming back out or something coming to you, then, that's what that is.
Perfect. All right. So you're familiar with POD, post over dig, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So in a too high concept, when you're vertical, middle field's open as opposed to being closed, so they're going to run that at you. You know, it comes in two different directions. It's not always going to be the post on the outside. Sometimes the post on the inside. So
tricky
throw this. Yeah. So when I throw it up there, here's your two different variations of POD. Tell me how your eyes are going to recognize this when you're over top. What are your reads? Walk me through your reads and where you're going to look for that deeper route coming from and how you recognize it.
From the free safety or the strong safety perspective?
We'll start with the strong safety side, then we'll flip it to the free.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, from the strong safety side, this is a tricky cover because especially for my team, we're like a quarters team. So we kind of play we don't run actually a true quarters where it's, you know, the corner has one exact quarter, the safety has the other exact quarter. We kind of play like a man quarter scheme.
Yeah. You play man on the outside with the safeties taking the vertical on two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we do it based upon like a certain depth. Like if the number 2, for example, the Y here, if he gets past, you know, a certain yards, like 8 yards, then, you know, as a strong safety, I'm locking on that, and the corner has to, you know, pick up on the dig route or something like that. Because most times the teams who are doing these posts and these corners or these digs and posts, they're setting the safety up to bite on the dig and throw the post or the corner, wherever it is, over your head. So most times we just, you know, we try to play the deepest one as the strong safety here. So if I'm looking at the wide, that's my first initial read anyway, to see what he's doing. And then if he's going past a certain depth, I'm locking on, and then my corner has to lock on to the Z.
Yep. Gotcha. All right. Flip it to the free safety now.
Yeah, so the free safety, I would say it's kind of a little bit more challenging because you're more in the open field. You know, you're in the space with where you're getting those deep pass concepts because you're to the field. And so they're definitely going to set you up out there. As far as when you're on the strong safety side, you're more so in the boundary, so you can kind of play it a little bit more softer. But in this situation for the free safety, you know, you got to kind of be aggressive and more decisive as far as what you're taking. But for the F here, you know, once you get that inside stem, at least for my team in quarters, we try to lock it on. That way it eliminates just, you know, getting set up here anyway. So once as the free safety, I see this initial stem, I'm like, okay, that's my man. Like I'm locking on right now. And I'm trying to protect my leverage anyway inside to protect that dig. If he runs, you know, the out or the corner, that's a harder throw anyway. You know, you don't want to get beat across your face. So I'm obviously in this situation, I'm the free safety. I'm gonna try to protect my leverage as much as possible inside. And then once the corner, you know, sees that number 2 is doing the inside stem, he's locking on to his man already. So he should be on top of the post. Most teams like to throw that post anyway, knowing, you know, this free safety's locking on number 2, and they're going to take that shot, that deep shot on the corner. So most times we tell the corners, though, you know, if you see an inside stem by number 2 or inside breaking route by number 2, then number 1 is probably doing inside breaking route as well. So, you know, there's certain keys and certain things that help the corner in this situation as well as for like what I'm reading as well here in this situation.
Gotcha. So let's say you are in that 2, and you're in the 2 high, you got to stay in that, you got to stay over the top on this.
Yeah.
And you're that free. What's going to be your technique to not take the cheese on number 2 and come down so 1 gets behind you?
Yeah, so if I'm the free safety here, you want to gain obviously width and depth here. If you're getting 2 vertical routes and you know, split the 2 if you can. And then at that point, if you're like just reading off the quarterback, you know, you want to kind of read his shoulders initially. You know, sometimes it's high shoulders, probably the deeper ball, lean shoulders, probably getting the dig. So if you're reacting off the quarterback, you can kind of play off of that. But the biggest thing here in this situation, if you're the free safety, is obviously get width and depth. Don't let the receivers get on your toes, because then you're not gonna be able to make a play anywhere, whether you're trying to play the dig or the post. So obviously gain width and depth here, get off the hash a little bit, try to split the 2 verticals, and then, you know, react off the quarterback if you can.
All right, good stuff. So give me the toughest matchup you faced. There's always that one guy, no matter how much cushion you give him, he eats it up and makes you open your hips too early. There's always that one guy, you're in phase, as you get further and further down the field, these somehow has an extra gear to pull away.
Mm-hmm.
Who was that guy for you?
I face some good receivers, especially being in the slot. Man. I would say this was more so my junior year, but I was playing high that game, like up top, and we playing Javon Baker, and they had that 1-2 combo going on, and they get on your toes quick, and I mean quick. Like if you give them space to run and get no hands on, they get on your toes pretty quick, and so. I mean, a couple of times they kind of had that step on me, and I'm speeding up my back pedal a little bit, trying to stay on top. But when you giving guys like them free releases off the line, it's kind of hard to stay on top. And I would say, they made a couple big plays against us that year as well. So I mean, those are two exceptional players right there.
Looking at the film, you're one of those guys that tackles well in space. There are guys that you see, they make great hits in the secondary when the guy's not looking at them. But when it comes time to make a tackle coming from depth, as you're asked to now, it was different for guys in my era. We were 4-3s and 4-4s. A lot more guys in the box that had to handle all that stuff. We just handled sweeps outside. You guys have to do it now from depth when you're playing that too high. You have to come down and make run fits inside the box in the running game because there's only 2 linebackers, or there's 3 linebackers and only 3 linemen. So you guys are very light in the box now, where you guys have to be extra run defenders, and you have to do it from depth, which is extremely hard. How do you take proper angles? What is your technique for seeing the hole open up, knowing I have to come run fit from this depth, and I have to make a tackle there? I can't do it as at 10 yards. I have to come up to 5 to 6 and make this tackle and make it clean.
Yeah, I mean, well, I played in the box, so it's kind of easier. It's an easier read just because you see things happen faster. But from up high alignment, because I played up high before as well. First, you got to start off just like, what keys are you reading? So if I'm reading or keying the tight end, for example, and I see the tight end block down, and I'm supposed to fit off the tight end on that outside of shoulder pad of the down block, then that's your initial movement. At least that's where it puts you in a position to make the play. So I always start there with my keys, whether it's the tight end or if I'm keying the receiver, blocking my backer, whatever it is, and you make the fit based upon the block. So if it's outside, if the tight end blocks out, then I'm fitting inside of them, knowing that that's the gap that I got to fill. So based upon what the block is, that's initially setting me up to get in position to be where I need to be and make the play. After that, once you're in position, you got to run your feet on contact, wrap up. I like to say I'm a secure tackler. You might not see too many kill shots, but if it's one thing, I'm a secure the tackle, wrap up, finish the tackle and roll. So, you got to, as a safety, you're the last line of defense. So the biggest goal at the end of the day is not to go for the kill shot. Obviously, you get the chance to, within the strike zone. But, at the end of the day, you just got to get to make the tackle and go to the next down.
Gotcha. Greg, I'll let you ask your questions because we're getting late in the night. I can't keep them up.
Yeah, you're from Owings Mills, Maryland. So are you a Ravens fan?
Huge Ravens fan. Like, my dad loves the Ravens. I've watched the Ravens growing up my whole life. Shoot, my freaking favorite player of all time on defense is Ed Reed. I watched him.
I was just about to say you must love Ed Reed because that's the guy, right?
Yes, sir. I love Ed Reed. I love watching this film. I love watching just the Ravens defense in general. I feel like, as a Ravens fan, that's what we pride ourselves on is our defense. Well, obviously now it's different. We got Lamar Jackson. So, but the Ravens defense was always something I seen growing up. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs. We had a lot of good guys out there. So Ed Reed was my, the dude I was watching.
Okay, well, I'm a Notre Dame guy, so Kyle Hamilton is now in that secondary.
I like the way they use him.
Bingo! Thank you very much. Because he and of course they added Darius Washington to the safety room as well this year. And when they made that switch, that's when the Ravens defense woke up, right?
Yep. Yeah, they started utilizing him and putting him in the best position that helped the Ravens tremendously. You know, they had him playing in the nickel, have him, you know, playing up high, rolling him down, getting him in the box. You know, shoot, he was making a lot of plays off the edge. He's a tall, you know, really tall safety. So, I mean, you can only control that beat. That was helping him a lot make plays. Not afraid to tackle. You can shoot. You can watch the film. You're gonna keep flying downhill. So they actually got him going and actually helped the Ravens defense a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you see, I'm Greg Cowboys on here, so you know I cheer for that team down in Dallas. So I'm glad that your time in Villanova didn't infect you and you don't have the Kelly Green disease. That's a very good thing.
That's all you got, Greg?
Well, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Davis. What is your favorite food?
I mean, shoot, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say the same thing as him. I'm a big steak guy, but I'm filet mignon, like, or the prime rib. I got a classic taste when it comes to the steak. So I'm taking a nice one of those two. You know, obviously I like mixed vegetables. You know, it can be anything, broccoli, whatever it is, carrots. I'm not too picky. And then, you know, loaded baked potato as well. Maybe some eggs if that's an option. That's something if you cook it up. But yeah, I'm a fan of the steak. Can't go wrong.
There you, and is it medium well?
I'm a medium well guy.
Okay.
Medium well guy.
Yeah. There you are. This is a very good guest because he loves the same food that I do. It just was Davis did as well, right? Is broccoli. That is the number one vegetable out in the world. I don't care what anybody else says. I love my broccoli just like you do.
You know, listen, you can't go wrong with steak. I mean, but you mentioned some really nice cuts. I mean, you're a medium well guy, so those are the perfect cuts for you. Medium well guys. You know what I'm saying? So you can't overcook prime rib in filet mignon. That stuff is as tough as a rubber tire if you try to cook that well done. But I'm more of a porterhouse guy, so I'm going to have my porterhouse well done because then it's great. I don't have any risk of foodborne illnesses, which I've had plenty of those in my lifetime. So I don't mess around with semi-cooked meat. It's got to be all the way for me. But nevertheless, if it's going to be a steak, it's got to be a porterhouse where you get that nice little piece of filet on the side and that shell, the New York strip on the opposite. Oh, that is a steak. That right there is it's perfection in my chef's kiss.
When is your pro day, Ty?
Next Thursday at the NovaCare Complex in Philadelphia. So we're actually going to be at the Eagles facility.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been looking forward to that my whole time. I'm actually out here in Houston right now training, so I leave this weekend to fly back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're doing everything, full participant, all drills?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Love that. I'm looking forward to seeing the numbers that you put up. Now, what's your current height and weight? Where do you weigh now?
On the stat sheet, it's going to say 6'205". After training, I'm 6'200". I cut off, 5 pounds since out here. I'm just, cut off a lot of body fat.
Yep.
I feel like I'm in one of the best shapes of my life right now. So I'm looking forward to the pro day. I feel like I'm going to do very well when I get there.
I agree, especially once again with your very strong track background. I mean, I bet there's not more than 100 people in America who have broken 49 feet in the triple jump. I mean, that's a small club, Ty. That's not a bunch of guys who can say they did that. That's not many people. Who's the best athlete in your family, Ty?
I'll probably have to say me, not to be selfish or anything, but me, as far as just like my family wise, I'm kind of, I have I have a cousin, but I'm obviously like the oldest right now as far as athletics goes, excelling at the highest level that I can. Obviously I was fortunate enough actually, go to D1 school,
Yep.
I'm obviously on the track of now pursuing the NFL. So I'm kind of like the first person right now to do that out of my family. So it's a big accomplishment. A lot of my family, they're supporting me, and I'm happy that they're able to support me in this process. And I feel them right behind me along this journey. And hopefully, when I have my cousin has his opportunity, I want him to do the same as well. So
excellent. What's your cousin's name?
My cousin's name is Kenneth Johnson. He's a receiver that plays for Pitt.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. He will. He's a sophomore now.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, he's a sophomore now.
Yeah.
Okay. I
He's
thought
he's still young. So
yeah, I got it. But his moment is coming. Well, then my final question. Obviously, you watch football. Obviously, along with playing it, you mentioned the Ravens. Are there any other defenses, particularly safety groups, maybe that you watch and think, oh yeah, I'd fit in well with that group?
I've been watching the Lions a lot, if I'm honest. I like their defense. They rotate a lot actually. And I'm watching guys like Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. I love his game a lot. The way they utilize him actually in the box. He's making a lot of. Yeah, so I've been watching them and how they run their defense, and I actually like the way they rotate players. It's kind of unfortunate they got a little banged up at the end of the season. They had, that was kind of hurting them a little bit, but they got a good squad. So I was definitely watching their defense.
Excellent. Well, look for a DM reminding you to remind us to check back in with you because we want to find out how everything went your pro day. Have any teams met either informally or formally with you, or requested tape, or had questions for you so far?
I mean the Eagles, because we're right there. They've come by the facility, talked to my coaches. As far as other teams, I'm not too sure really. I'm sure there's some teams that have been in contact with my agent. So I think the Ravens are actually a team that's been reaching out to my agent, just to see how. But biggest thing right now is how well am I going to do at the pro day? And I'm like I said, I'm super confident in that I'm gonna go kill my pro day, and I'm gonna turn some heads when that happens.
Excellent. Who represents you?
My agent, Chris Quattro.
Okay, got it. And what's the name of the agency?
Chris Quattro Sports Group, actually. So it's actually under his name. So
yeah,
got it. That's easy to remember and find. Excellent. Well, I want to thank you. We should have more safeties on the show. I've been telling Jeff this continuously. I think we should probably,
Oh, I agree. Those guys.
We got more coming. We got more coming. I'm taking care of you, Bill. Listen, I may have played corner, but I take care of you.
You guys with your heads back of the quarterback, you just don't understand the game. You don't understand the game in the middle. You don't get it.
Well, my problem wasn't that I didn't understand it. I did, which is why they wanted me to move to safety. But I said I'm a step slower at the end of my career. That ain't easy to cover that much ground when you're a step slower. When I was in my prime, I could do that easy. It wasn't a problem. It was, but you get older. Father Time catches everybody. And I wouldn't want to be remembered as a guy who was an all-star best at his position in the league than going back to just being a guy at safety. I'd rather retire and hang it up. So that was just my opinion. All right. So yeah. Listen, I'd rather you remember me at my best, not at my worst. Okay.
There we go.
Yes. But enough about me.
Nobody cares about you. Willie Mays with the Mets in 1973, I guess. Yeah. First of all, Ty, before we descend into foolishness, I want to thank you so much for your talent, your time, and most importantly, sharing with us the opportunity to get to know you. You are a fascinating young man who I can tell takes your opportunity extremely seriously, and I think good things are coming your way.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll be letting Chris know that we appreciate you coming on. We'll be looking forward to see what happens next week with you. And like I said to Davis, we say it to everybody. You're more than welcome. We get your name called. You get signed after the draft to come back on and share the joy. We love to see it happen for you guys. We expect the best things for you. Enjoy the process. Not too many go through it. I missed my opportunity to go through it, so I'm living vicariously through you guys.
Thank you. I just wasn't good enough. I was a scrub. I mean, it's just facts. I'm not here to lie. I mean, I was like a fourth stringer. I mean, I ran L3, lane 3 on kickoff coverage. That was my great contribution. But yes, it is great to see you because you do have the ability, both mentally, physically, and you have the right wiring inside to play, I think, the toughest position in football, which is safety. But of course,
quarterback of the defense.
There we go. That's we
right.
go. Oh, Todd, look for a DM from me. We're gonna commiserate. We're gonna spend time together. We're gonna talk. But yes, thank you so much for making time for us as you are in this most important time of your life.
Appreciate you guys so much for having me. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Ty. You take care, man.
Ty Trinh, safety from Villanova. So before we go, we'd like to say thanks again for watching. This is the last position series, so it's nothing but guests and a couple other topics the rest of the way. Mocks coming again, mock 2.0 next week. So we'll have mock drafts coming your way, and then nothing but guests after that. So you're going to see a lot of young faces coming through the show for the next few weeks. So we hope you enjoy the young men coming on, taking the time away from their draft prep to come on and talk to us. We appreciate it. Your rant, Bill, I'm with you. I hate when they hide the numbers from the actual participants. You want to hide it from the press, that's one thing, but hiding it from the actual participants burns my bacon. If I haven't been at pro days myself to hear the numbers, and what sucks is when you're at a pro day and because you're not with the 32 teams, you and all the other media scouts get put on the side with the regular press who don't do none of this stuff. They just write, and we're actually trying to record at times from the side. And you can't get the official times because you're not out on the field when they huddle together and start discussing times. So
it's crazy because it's so different from school to school. When Greg Schiano, he's back, right? He's back at Rutgers. But when I was there for Ray Rice's pro day, and I'm here with my little rinky-dink website, Consensus Draft Services, with my friend Jeff West, and he watched Schiano himself watch tape with us, right? I mean, like it was we had access to everything. And then you go to other pro days, and I won't name any names, but there are schools that treat you like you're, like they've caught you trying to commit espionage. It's crazy how different it is. There's no consistency, one, in the process. Two, as you said, forget me, but imagine that you have to take a test to get your certified public accountant, to get and then at the end of the test, they say, we can't tell you, what you got. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's insanity. The NFL personnel who are there are guests. While they're important guests, they're guests. They don't own anything. They're there as invited guests. The strength and conditioning staff should have just as much access to information. The players should have just as much access to information as anyone else. If you want to deny that to, as you said, to, Billy Bob's football scouting, website, sure, I get that. Or, whatever press, that's fine. But
to not give the player the information is just utterly
and the host. The school is the host.
Yeah.
And their strength and conditioning people deserve a pat on the back too, right? If someone has a fantastic day, they help make that happen. It is whatever. I'm going to climb down off my soapbox in a second.
No, I'm up there with you. Listen, I've been just going down the I-4 corridor, right? Here, USF, UCF, USF. Their old regime didn't let you on the field. You were on the side with the regular press in the weight room. You were off to the side while the scouts were there. Now, I don't need to be up on them for the weight room. I can record reps from where I'm standing. Sure. But for the 40 times, I needed to be right by the timing.
Yep.
So I've been to Fordham's Pro Day when I was in New York on the field. I've been to UCF on the field. Timing. So it's a lot easier to get accurate times when you're out there doing the timing. And you can tell the guys that are just regular media that are just doing what they do, and you can tell people who are actual, good at know what to watch, knowing what they're supposed to be doing, timing, recording, and getting off the field. There's a difference between regular media and guys who were scouts, who were just media scouts, right? But like I said, even if you want to put those two together and say we don't want them in the way of other pro scouts, let them do their thing, that's fine. But they have the combine for that. They don't have to be that way at pro days.
Right.
But they have to. But if you want your pro day to be that way, that's fine. However, you should never hide it from the athlete. That's the mistake I think that's made. How is it confidential when I'm the one running it? It is not confidential to me. What was the purpose of you coming here to record it and not tell me what I ran? I know what I got on the bench, right? Because I could count that. But that baffles me.
Right. The thing that I keep coming back to is they are not the host; they are the guest, right? If they were hosting, I would say, sure, it's your event. It is an event that you are invited to. You have been allowed to come and you are there. But to say to, like I said, not only the athletes, which is insanity, but even the strength and conditioning staff, right? Who've worked with these players, unless they're outside players, but if there's their players, they've worked with these players. They also would like to celebrate, right? What their accomplishment. It is, I don't know. Like I said, I have said on many an occasion, the tail is wagging the dog when it comes to the situation. And I would like to see an actual policy, first of all, right, that stipulates who must have access to the information and then who can have access to the information. The can part can be changed, right? But I want essentially a bill of rights, right? The player empowerment movement should also include this, where if I am involved in an event where I am being evaluated based on my performance, I should also know what my performance was.
Bingo. That's like taking a state test to become a cop, and they never tell you what your grade is. They just say, "Hey, we want you or we don't want you." But what did I get? Oh, well, you're not allowed to have the information.
Right, exactly.
That doesn't sound reasonable or logical at all. But that's exactly what happens.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. There we go.
It's like that running back. The information I sent you in the DMs there last week, Jeff, from Michigan State.
Yeah.
The guy ran 4.37. He did jump 40 inches. He had just a remarkable day, and you saw it on the man's face because he knew.
Mm-hmm.
He excelled at his pro day.
Yep.
Why every athlete is not given that same opportunity is beyond me. It's beyond me.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the tail is wagging the dog, and there needs to be an actual policy. That they have policies for other stuff, like who can participate, right? They have they have other policies. It's not like there's nothing established about what you can and can't do or do and don't have going on at a pro day. It's not that hard to simply put in there that for any tested event, for any of the timed events or measured events, that at the very least, the host institution and all the participants must be given access to that information. Yeah. Now, the other stuff, I feel it could be negotiable, can be figured out, whatever. But that has to be a must.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen the evolving of certain things with this, right? Before, measurements were taboo to be giving out, right? They wouldn't tell you measurements for nothing, right?
For a long time. Yep.
All of a sudden, you started going to events, and because the draft is now widely covered outside of mainstream media, we get those numbers every which way but loose, right? They have them on rosters now printed out for you at all-star games now.
Yep.
Right? As opposed to before where it was like, yeah, we don't give that information out, and you have to go through back channels to find it, except for the HBCU Combine, where you still have to throw on your investigative glasses and find out actual information from a combine on athletes. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. And in the blurbs that went out the week of were all partials. So you got a handful of guys they felt they wanted to release, and that was it. Why wouldn't you release it all? I can go on NFL.com and look at everybody's measurements, everybody's times, everybody's scouting report. But the HBCU combine is still guarded information where we're running through the hole with both hands on the football, trying to protect it like this, like it's trying to be stripped away from us. I don't get the secrecy of it all. The whole point is to get it out there, right? The people who need it are going to have it anyway, which is the scouts, right? So what is the purpose of hiding the information? It doesn't make any sense.
No.
To evaluators out there. But anyway, I'm getting off the soapbox for a minute.
We are getting off, yes.
Right,
and with Jalen Milroe's 4.37 that the University of Alabama said he ran today, add 0.08 seconds to that, please and thank you. That is the rule.
Fast track, yeah.
Yeah, the rule is 0.08 seconds added on to whatever time these schools give you. That is their legitimate 40 time. There you go.
Yeah. Also, all right. For those watching, we appreciate you watching. It's always good to see you supporting the little guy. I caution you when you're watching the big networks. Not everybody is worth listening to, especially when it comes to evaluating talent. Okay, I'm not mentioning any names because it's not them that throw shade at people. There are people that are out there because they are good at what they do, but they're not great at evaluation. All right, there are some guys that are up there because they played the game, but they're not great at evaluation. Okay, nope. I've seen enough bad takes the past 3 weeks from mainstream guys that are just absolutely horrendous. But this goes with the draft cycle. You're going to get 1,000,001 people chiming in, even though they're not really good at what they do. Why am I good at what I do? Because I was taught by people that are great at what they would do. I've had to do it as a coach. I've had to do it as an administrator, where I've had to evaluate talent. I've run combines and tryouts. So evaluating and doing all this stuff is part of my DNA because I've had many years of experience doing it and building teams that way. So there's guys that retire on a jacket and they go into doing all this stuff and they tell you who's great. And they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And I'm not saying that to throw shade at people because there's some shady guys out there. But nevertheless, be careful when you're consuming draft information. Make sure that the people know what they're talking about. Just don't say, "Oh, he played in the NFL." Well, there's a lot of guys that played in the NFL that couldn't coach their kids. Okay, so
and there's many of them who don't know how to evaluate other positions that they didn't play. There's guys out there who are considered godlike in the eyes of this media world who would not have a clue how to actually evaluate talent.
And some of them can't evaluate the position they did play. I mean,
that's right.
It's not exclusive to that. But here's the other thing. You have to remember there's also outside influences at play sometimes. Some of these people are way too close to certain other people in associated industries, is how I think I'll put it, who unduly influence them. I won't name any names once again, but I know of a very close relationship between one or two of the super agents and one or two of the big name, draft evaluators. And I have seen that influence skew how they evaluate certain players that are represented by that agency. So
absolutely. So I mean, if you're represented by Mr. Rosenhaus, you're getting the whole media kebab out there for you automatically.
Well,
it's just automatic.
Unless it's certain evaluators who don't like him but are close to right. I mean, so there's once again, I don't want to make the show about the inside baseball of inside football, but there's a lot of moving parts that go into how certain people's evaluations are done. That's why, while I do have friends and associates and people I like who are agents, I tell them straight up, if I don't like your guy, I'm going to tell you I don't, and why, right? I'm going to tell you straight up because, and if I do like your guy, I liked him probably before I knew he was your guy, but it, it certainly helps me to get maybe more access because he is your guy, because I know you and we like each other. But frankly, as much as I like some of the people that I know and who are associated with, like I said, various other entities within this industry, I will never, ever, 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 ever let anything but my own personal take on a player be put out there. If I don't like a player, or if I don't like certain things about a player, if I better put it, if there's things I don't like about a player, even if I like them as a person, most of these are great young men. Like, I want to make it clear when I say don't like, I'm just talking about evaluating them as a football prospect. 99.97% of these young men are fantastic human beings. Fantastic. Yeah. All the classic cliches about, you'd hire them to run a business, you would want them to date your daughters, blah, 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 all that stuff. 99.97 of them fall into that category. There's 0.3% that, but 99.97% of the young men going through this process are amazing people. And they'll be successful, whether they make it in football or not. They are fantastic people. And you are choosing between the best of the best anyway, right? So I hear some people throw around terms like garbage and such, and you'll never see that in my evaluations. If someone's not good at something, I will be honest about that. But I wouldn't be evaluating them if they were garbage, right? None of them are garbage.
Have you ever seen myself or Jeff use that term either? Not a chance.
Right.
Not a chance.
It's not right. It's not. First of all, it's not necessary. Most of it's not helpful, right? It's not descriptive enough of what you're seeing. And this is not. Well, I guess it is. I guess it is a tangent, but I'll pull it back in. I think the best evaluators are the ones that give equal weight to what a player can do, right? It's not just all tearing them apart, but also here's what they can do. Here's their strengths. And then 2, like I said, being particulate, right? Don't just say someone is good at something or bad at something. Like, what is it they're doing that makes them good at this thing? Or are they a little late off the line? Are they someone who doesn't keep blockers off their chest plate? Are they someone who stops their feet on contact? Like, what is it that's keeping them from, such and such? But yeah, like I said, rant over. I'm done. We could do a whole show about our various likes and dislikes about this wild, wonderful world of football evaluation.
Well, it's like Mr. Irrelevant from a couple of seasons ago, who's now the starting quarterback for the San Francisco Niners.
I hate that darn thing.
I hate that, Mr. Irrelevant. I hate it. I do. I said that when he was picked, and I said the Niners got themselves a good quarterback. And I got criticized. On X and all that. No, he is a good quarterback. Did you watch his junior year? Oh, you didn't watch his junior year. Okay, I did.
Yep. He had
that's the mistake that people make out there. Right. They don't watch these guys play long enough.
Multiple years, right?
Yeah.
And once again,
go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say, there was a while where people would brag about how little they needed to see before they would, figure out who they thought a player was. Oh, I don't need to watch a whole game. I know within blah, blah, blah plays. It's like, okay, well, that's one way to do it. But that's like saying, I know within X number of minutes of a first date whether or not we're going to be in love. Like, that's, I'm a person who wants more rather than less when it comes to like sample size, information, and data. I want more. I want to know everything possible that I can know about a player. I'm never going to brag about how little I knew about a player before I evaluated them. 1, because, well, you're going to miss more. I mean, let's be honest, you're going to miss more. But 2, like, where's your freaking work ethic? I feel like I'm cheating a player if I haven't watched more than, if I've watched 3-4 games, I still feel like there's more I should be doing. Well, once again, this could turn into like a very long rant. I will not allow that to happen.
It's like when we talk about corners, and I always refer to the other corner. Kyle Gordon, Trent McDuffie. I was a big Kyler Gordon fan because I watched him play under the gun.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
It was like Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold. Everybody was always talking about McKinstry, and I'm going, well, this Terrion Arnold is the guy who's under the gun.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't people recognize that? Right?
Well, my favorite of those other corners is one sort of early for me in the days of draft Twitter. Everybody was all excited by a guy named Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks, right? He's missing the extra A, so it's Jonathan,
Yeah.
right? And he was this long corner, like 6'2.5", and people were all over him, and he's a lot of people's corner one at the time. And I'm watching, because everyone's talking about him, so I'm watching Mississippi State. I watched about 3 games into Mississippi State, and my eye keeps finding the other corner, a guy named Darius Slay.
Bingo.
Who's still in the NFL. Jonathan Banks has been retired, I think, for 9 years.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see. And of course, I know Slay was less heralded. He was a junior college guy, wasn't as long, but he was quicker. He was more athletic. He could get back in phase even when he did get out of phase, things that Banks could not.
But he was the guy who was under the gun from a quarterback.
Yeah,
correct.
That's the key thing that people don't understand here is that those corners are under the gun. Mello Dotson for Kansas this year is under the gun compared to Kobe Bryant.
Correct.
Mello Dotson is a very good corner.
What bothers me about the Mr. Irrelevant thing is if the last guy taken in round 7 is Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
What was Deacon Jones, who was taken in the 14th round of a draft? Okay.
Bingo.
If the guy in round 7 is Mr. Irrelevant, okay.
Brian Bartlett star, right?
We can go through all these guys who were drafted after round 7 that are in the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
In rounds that don't exist anymore.
Do not exist.
Bingo. Well, again, but it was a smaller league as well, and that's why they had.
True. Yeah, but
But again, Deacon Jones, like you said, was a late draft pick.
Right.
And there's so many of those guys. I mean, Roger Staubach was drafted in the 10th round.
Yeah. Brian Bartlett star in the 17th.
17th round.
Right. You could build a very nice all-time team from guys drafted in rounds that no longer exist.
But you can also build a damn good team of the guys who are drafted in rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that is where our expertise comes into play because everybody focuses on the top 100 of the draft. That's all they focus in is the top 100. Well, there's 157 other men who are going to be drafted to the NFL, and those guys deserve the attention, and that's what we give everybody who watches us. We give those guys their due because they deserve it.
Well, they're going to deserve more next week because it is time to go. We surpassed the 2-hour mark. So we definitely went we went double overtime, but it was worth it because we had 2 amazing guests. We got our last position group in. Next week, we're back with mocks. We got more guests. So next week, we have confirmed for the show, if the mouse moves over there. All right. So our last show of March will be our 2.0 mocks. We're going to have Anthony T.J. Session from Cal, guard tackle. Kendall Paul, DB from East Texas A&M.
East Texas A&M. Yep.
All right, see, I told you, Bill, we got DBs. You can trust the DB to get DBs.
I do. I trust.
Now, are we doing any trades, or are we still sticking with
we can start with the trades this time around. We know 1.0 we never really do trades. We can start with trades this one.
Okay. I'll start with a couple in 2.0 and then we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna take it light at first.
Because these are our last mocks until the night before.
That's right. So if we're going to do some trades, we may as well rock and roll with that, right?
Yeah, you can start practicing your trades now because the next time it'll be the most accurate mock. You got to get everything close to possible the night before.
Right.
So with that being said,
yes, sir.
We hope you had a great night. Thanks to the Davis Black. Thanks again to Ty Trinh.
Yep.
Thanks to the agents for letting those guys come out and hang out with us. We will see y'all next week. Bushy-eyed and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. There we go. I got the cliche right.
You got it right.
You know, I'm not pulling a W. All right, here we go. All right, with that being said, y'all have a great night. For Bill, Greg, and myself, this has been Draft Central. We'll see you next week.